the season.
We're now getting into the draft portion of the off season, and I'm starting to do some deep dives on the players and doing some one-on-one stuff that I'm going to release it here in a week. That I'm really, and this is what I really enjoy the most. I mean, this is, looking at the draft, because I find guys every day that I'm like, wow, this guy's going to be a steal. This guy's going to be a steal. I mean, I've got like 50 guys who are going to be steals on day 3 of the draft. And we're not even in April 1st yet. You just went to the combine, though, and you had a chance to kind of put your eyes on the players, put your eyes on the workouts, talk to them, maybe even get a sense from being around some other Niner content creators who maybe, the whispers around the combine. What would you say? Is there any prospect at the combine that you have heard multiple connections to the Niners? Is there any prospect that you feel like you have a reasonable expectation based on your intel, based on your travel out there, based on, and everybody plays their cards close to the vest. So they're trying not to give these secrets away. But I'm asking you as somebody was there, and when you're there, you get a little bit more of an opportunity to kind of hear the whispers and hear what's being said off the record. I do have a list here of the players that they met with in Indy, and I'm going to throw it out to people. Alex Austin, defensive back, Oregon State. Jair Brown, defense safety from Penn State. I like him a lot. Niners Nation had that one. The Rice defensive end, Akena Anekchukwu. I know I butchered that. Jalen Graham, who's a undersized stack backer from Purdue. Cam Jones, a linebacker from Indiana. Jarvarius Owens, safety from Houston. Isaiah McGuire, defensive end from Missouri. Zach Pickens, who I like a lot. He was a 5-star guy coming out of high school in South Carolina. He's a defensive tackle. Daniel Scott, Cal safety. J.L. Skinner, Boise State safety, who also had a serious injury leading up to the combine. Torres Peck. Jamie Robinson from Florida State. Dante Still, who's a safety. Dante Still's defensive lineman from West Virginia. Tyreek Wilson, who's a nickel from Boise State, who's a real team leader. And then Byron Young had a very impressive workout. Tennessee Vols, defensive end, edge rusher. Whether it be part of the list that I just threw out or just somebody that you heard on your own, what do you think? Based on your trip to Indy, if you were going to take 2 or 3 guys and say those guys are absolutely on a collision course for the 49ers draft room, what do you think?
I think Isaiah McGuire makes a ton of sense. The problem is that they met with so many guys, a few that you listed, where unless they're going to be aggressive and trade up, I don't know how they're going to end up falling to where the Niners are ultimately going to be picking. But I'll be honest, last year there was a lot more connection to some of these guys. Like I did extensive stuff with Drake Jackson and Spencer Burford because I had heard some stuff that, there was some interest there and ended up panning out. Luckily, I didn't waste, too much. That ended up not being a waste of time, going and getting that content for that. This year, it wasn't the same, to be honest, Larry. I didn't really hear too much in terms of draft stuff. I did hear some stuff during free agency. I had it on pretty good authority. They'd like Sam Darnold for a while. So that was one it was good to see that was there was some validity to that. But draft guys, I think like Isaiah McGuire makes a ton of sense because of the familiarity with Steve Wilkes. I think he's a guy that's going to be there when they feasibly will be picking, unless they do move up, move down, whatever they do with those 3 comp picks at the end of the 3rd round. I wish I could give you something more concrete, but there isn't really a player or two that I had heard like, man, they really like this guy. They're all over this guy. There are a couple tackles that I've heard they like. I heard they really like the tackle from Syracuse, but again, I think he's a guy that he might be a late day 1, early day 2 guy. So I don't know how, they could like him all they want. I don't know how realistic it is that they get him. For whatever my input's worth, I hope they end up with Jamie Robinson. Jamie Robinson was the guy. He was probably my favorite guy from the combine that I had the chance to speak with, interact with. And I think he's a guy that makes a ton of sense for them. And J.L. Skinner's another guy too, where I really like his athletic ability. I've seen some people project him more as like a box safety, but I think he could do more than that. I hate taking what guys did in college and using that to project what they'll do at the next level. I'd much rather bank on the athletic traits and the ability to project what they can do rather than what they've already done. So I really like JL Skinner. He's a guy that I really like.
6'4" safety.
Mhm. So yeah, he's a guy that he just again like that kind of size, that athleticism is hard to bank on. Or sorry, hard to not want to bank on and bet on yourself. He makes a ton of sense. Another guy who I really like, and Brad Graham he was the guy who showed me it and has been all over it, is Saldiveri, the right tackle from Old Dominion. Which is a
Yeah.
smaller school. He might be a later pick, but man,
He likes him.
the little bit of tape I saw, he looks really good, Larry. He looks really technically sound. Some of the things he's doing, and people will bring up competition and this and that, but it wasn't something where it was like, okay, he's just like, bowling over guys and standing them up. It was very technically sound what he was doing, hand placement, pad level, things that translate well regardless of what your level of competition is. So he's a guy who I think would make a ton of sense for them, and he's definitely athletic enough to get out in space. And then I know Brad's been all over Blake Freeland. I think he plays right tackle, maybe left tackle, a tackle from BYU. I admittedly have
6'8".
Yeah, he's got great athletic traits. But yeah, there's not really a guy this year that I'm looking at where I'm like, this makes a ton of sense for them. And the thing that's getting me, Larry, is that effectively the top 100 prospects as of now are kind of more or less out the window because of where they're slated to pick. And I don't know how aggressive they're going to be in a move up. One guy, I don't know if you've watched, but a buddy of mine whose opinion I value greatly, really smart guy, told me to take a closer look at Derek Hall, the edge out of Auburn. And
Love him.
Really like what I see out of him. Again,
reminds me a lot of D Ford.
Yes.
Me a lot of D Ford.
Mm-hmm. And they're going to have to move up if they want a guy like that. But hey, maybe they feel comfortable with the amount of picks they have and the comp picks they'll be getting next year too, where you can be aggressive getting a guy like that. And some of the things he showed on tape, like he looks like he could be an every down edge. Like he could set the edge. He was great against the run, looked really good at the Senior Bowl. So there's a lot of guys that I really like. I just can't say confidently I've heard the Niners like them too. I wish I could give you more in that department.
The guy I want you to watch, and I don't like giving homework assignments, but I know you like to watch these guys anyway.
Yeah.
But go watch Alex Palszewski, the big right tackle for Illinois. He wears 63. He's a senior. He's from Mount Prospect, Illinois. He's a team captain. He was a really good pass protector. He played right guard and right tackle. He's played like 65 starts because they granted him an extra year of eligibility. The guy is tough. His family, immigrated from Poland. He's just a tough guy. He listed Ivan Drago as his favorite athlete. He goes, even though he's a fictional character, I like him because he would never talk. He would just let his work do the talking for him. But this kid's graduated. He's got a degree in kinesiology. He's smart. He's tough. He's played in the Big Ten. He's a captain. He's got a wrestling background, which I love. He doesn't miss games. He's probably going to be a day 3 pick. But I'm interested to see what you have to say about Palszewski if you watch him.
I'll get to it. This is turning. I want to get done with the free agency stuff. I appreciate it. I love the news cycle we're in now, but I'm right there with you. I want to be able to just pivot totally towards some of these guys, and it's great because so much of the focus is on the top 50, 75 picks, and you kind of get the chance to get a little bit deeper with these 5th, 6th round picks that other teams right now really don't care about because their team actually has a 1st and 2nd round pick. So it's kind of nice that, the 49ers kind of have that market to themselves right now of, getting the content out on some of these guys. So it means that there is more homework to do, but there's not a ton of priors out there to confirm. Like, it's not like you're seeing somebody else's opinion where like some of these guys I've been hearing about for 3 years, and it's really hard to kind of silence the outside opinions and go in and watch a guy you've been hearing about for 3 years. Whereas a guy like I've never watched that guy play. So I feel like you can go in with a little bit more of an unbiased angle watching somebody like that.
Interesting chat for here from Tyler. He says, have you guys seen, and he lists a bunch of guys, but the guy I want to ask you about is the first guy, Will McDonald, the Iowa State defensive end. Are the Niners, what are they looking for in an edge rusher in this wide 9? Are they looking for somebody 240 like McDonald, 245? He's crazy athletic. I mean, this guy could probably dunk a basketball. He's got movement ability and spin moves. And I mean, this guy's like one of the freakiest athletes off the edge, but he's 240, 245. Are they looking for, Alden Smith type? Somebody's 270, 275. In an ideal world, if Chris were here, Chris Kocherik and Wilkes, or like last year, D'Amico, or even Kyle or John, if they were here, and paint us a picture of your ideal 4-3, wide 9 defensive end. Are they happy with multiple body types, or are they looking for the guy 270? Because it seems like they've gone for some bigger guys.
I think that's exactly what it is. I think their ideal guy is 6'4", 6'5", 265, 270, 34 and a half, 35-inch arms. Like they're going to, in my eyes, prioritize the guys like that. D Ford was such a special player, and it's really a bummer, Larry, because I feel like so much of what he did gets overlooked just because the injuries unfortunately derailed his time here. But what he was able to do, he was, I think, like 245 around that when he was with the 49ers, but he had so much power, and he was able to convert that speed into power. And that's what I think the 49ers are really looking for. And I have to watch a little bit more, but just like from what I've seen from McDonald, I don't think he necessarily has that power from the speed that the Niners typically look for. He's a tremendous athlete, and I agree. His bend is unreal. His ability to run the hoop, the way he just looked naturally bending, turning the corner, he looked fantastic. But the Niners, to me, that's why I think like when they got a guy like a Willis, or they got a guy like a Menahue, these bigger athletes that really have the ability to convert that speed into power with their rush, can really land a punch on an opposing tackle and do more than just win with speed on the edge. If you can do that too, it's great. I mean, obviously they're not going to be complaining if they get a guy that does both, but I think at this point they're honestly prioritizing the power over the speed based on some of the recent signings they've made and the people that they've looked at in the draft.